we continue with the 10th letter. A recap. We are speaking of two types of divine kindness that are elicited from on high, which we need to elicit. We elicit it down here. Everything is a reciprocal relationship. In other words, what goes up must come down. We, through our divine service, elicit a divine light from above. That's the way God created the world. So what we've explained till now is the natural order of things. The natural order of things is that God has an infinite divine kindness that he wants to bestow upon us. That's expressed in his Torah, on his mitzvahs. That's his infinite kindness. However, it is funneled, so to speak, through divine gvura. Gvura means severity, or better yet, a withholding. Kindness is about giving without restriction. Gvura is about power and strength. Power and strength is holding back. Like when you want something and you hold back, like you want breakfast and you held back from eating breakfast right away. That's strength. That's withholding. We need both attributes. We need to bestow. Bestowing is about giving to other on a personal level. Bestowing means bestowing upon others, giving to them. And for ourselves, we can hold back. Right? As a famous story with the previous Rebbe, when he was 4 or 5 years old, he asked his father, the Rebbe Rashab, Shalom Dover, the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, why do we have two eyes? So don't we have a right eye and a left eye? Right is kindness, and we should look upon another and bestow upon them kindness. And we have a left eye because it is to hold back, withdrawal. Not withdrawal, but withholding, gvura. And for upon yourself. And he's told a 4 or 5 year old boy that we can hold back and like a candy that you don't need to have immediately. From that day on, by the way, that 4 or 5 year old boy didn't have a candy again. He became a Rebbe. He was a tzaddik, so he had a different soul. He got the message right away. In any case, the point being that God's infinite Torah is an expression of his infinite kindness, and doing Torah and mitzvahs is a bestowal of his infinite kindness. However, it is funneled through holding back, contracting upon the divine light. What does that mean, that it's contracted? It means that it allowed that Torah and mitzvahs can be now expressed in a physical, material way. And hence, that's why God contracts the divine infinite light, because otherwise it would not be able to be expressed in a finite, limited manner. It can't be. Not only is it finite and limited in the sense that we do now mitzvahs with physical objects like tzitzis, right? That are made from wool. But the tzitzis are also delimited in that they have to be 8 strings, not 9, not, well, if there's 7, if there's one there's what's considered kosher, we won't go into the finer details, but there's 5 knots, there's 8 strings, it's got to be done in a specific way. All of the details, why the details? Why are details so important? Is because it is funneled through the divine gvura. And therefore, not only does it have fine expression in a physical objects, because the contraction is so great that now God's divine wisdom and will of Torah mitzvahs is expressed in the physical world by doing a physical act of a mitzvah, but that physical act is delimited through the delimited withdrawal of the divine light of God. So you want to connect to God? So therefore, you got to do the mitzvah in the appropriate way. Shema has to be said in before the third hour of the day, delimited in time. The mitzvah of tzitzis has to be done with a physical object of tzitzis. Of tefillin has to be between your eyes and not on your forehead. It's got to be leather straps made just specifically so. So on and so forth. Tzedakah, charity, has also got a delimiter to it. You can give minimum 10%, you have to give maximum 20%. Why? Because this is serving God in a way that, excuse me, is the way God creates the world. Chesed and Gvura, together. And therefore, to elicit the divine light from above, because remember, God is the only source of vitality. If you want to get it direct from Him and not from Kalipa, so it necessitates from us our divine service, doing a mitzvah. We elicit the divine kindness funneled through Gvura, divine power of God that is brought down, funneled into our lives, into this world through the act of the mitzvah. That's what we learned till now. What happens, though, if we went off the path? What we just explained is the normal process of an individual when everything is going the way it's supposed to go. Every mitzvah is what elicits the divine light from above in the manner that is meant through the act of creation. But what happens if you didn't say Shema at the right time and you missed it? You didn't put on your tefillin. Or other kind of things that we went off the path. Which means, if you didn't put on your tefillin, you've missed a light of God that you didn't introduce into this world. Didn't have your tzitzis. You missed a divine light, right? That they weren't kosher or they weren't proper, whatever. You didn't make a blessing on your food. A divine light that we would be introducing into our lives and into the world has been lost. And even worse, if we do a transgression, eating something that's not kosher, then we're taking the divine light and we're putting it into klipa, into a negative force. Now what? So if we have strayed, then the way we have spoken about bringing the chesed, the divine kindness of God into this world that's filtered through Gvura, that's not the path anymore. What we need now is the other form of chesed, the other form of divine kindness. And that is Rav Chesed, an abundant amount of divine kindness. Because we have diminished the light that we need to bring into this world, we need to rectify it. And Rav Chesed allows now the divine light of God not to be filtered through Gvura, which then limits it, but it becomes now direct from Rav Chesed, this supernal kindness that radiates without limited measure. It's an encompassing light. It's not a filtered light that it becomes now filtered, that is now expressed through doing Torah mitzvahs in a very delimited, limiting fashion, in a sense, right? Limiting. But now we need to bring a light that is far and above and beyond, that is an encompassing light that now will, and a greater infinite light of Rav Chesed, of the abundant, divine, limitless kindness of God that we are going to introduce into our lives and into the world, that rectifies the distortions and deficiencies that we caused by doing something that was wrong. That's called tshuva. That's called penitence. Penitence merely doesn't uncover a pre-existing light, but it now brings a new infinite light, a loftier light that is natural for the world to contain and maintain. And this is why our sages say that in a place and the level of the penitent, of the one who does tshuva, repentance, the perfectly righteous are not able to stand. Because the perfectly righteous, they serve God by day in, day out doing Torah and mitzvahs. And through that they elicit the divine light as Torah and mitzvahs is funneled through the funnel of, through God's divine kindness that's funneled and contracted through the divine gvura, the divine power that is a limiter, a delimiter. And therefore the mitzvahs are done in that fashion, which is the way we're supposed to naturally do things. But when we have gone off the path and we need to rectify and fix something, we need to fill the gaps, fill the holes that we have created, that's not sufficient anymore. It's not only it's not only creating a new light, but it's a limitless light that is able to fill the gaps and the holes that were previously there through our wrongdoing. And we're able to rectify those distortions, those deficiencies, by bringing this infinite light through tshuva. How that expresses itself? Tomorrow's class. Right now, that's the concept. An amazing idea that we have access to the Rav Chesed, the abundant kindness of God that allows us, amazing, that it doesn't just allow us to move forward. Of course, we have to be able to move forward and to make amends. That we understand, but this is much more profound. It's allowing that the distortions, the lack, can be now filled in a manner that filled in the past, not just future, move forward. You know, it's like, think about it. You did something wrong to a friend. Okay, you make amends. You said you're sorry and you fixed it, so you move forward. That's what we naturally think. Here we're saying it's not just move forward. It's to fill the gaps and the holes that were created in the past. That's a much more lofty and a beautiful idea that God gives us that capability. How that expresses itself, folks, stay tuned. Tomorrow we'll give you some answers. All right. Julie from Florida is with us. Heather from Norwood, Connecticut. Melanie from Montreal. Ella from Arizona. Diane from London, Ontario, in Canada. Good morning. By the way, folks, a reminder, tonight, 6:30, there will be a class on the Parsha. Come and join me at Chabad Zichron, or Chabad ZK. Clem from Brisbane, Australia. Sandy, welcome. Dawn from Kansas, good morning. James, shalom. Andrew from Springfield, New Jersey, welcome. Erica from Norway, good afternoon. James, a good week to you. Rosie from Montreal, thank you for joining. Michelle, good morning. Facebook, Chabad ZK, class every Sunday at 6:30. For those who are interested in more information, please private message me, and we'll give me your email so we could keep you posted on the things that, you know, that are important. Yehudit from Taiwan. Wow. Thank you for joining. Good night. Cecilia, shalom. All right, folks. Thank you, Florence. Sharing is caring. Please share the Alter Rebbe's teachings with others. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from my home in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day, a good Vach, Shavua Tov, a wonderful good week. Be well.